And so they eventually get to where the witch is residing. They open this one huge door, and it's this huge, like, atrium. And what they see in the middle of the atrium is, I would call it good old Dirty Gertie, Chad. Good old Dirty Gertie, the witch queen. I would describe her as, it's not like your typical witch. It's like, oh, so, you know, fucking old hag, clothed in black, witch's hat, stirring a cauldron. No. It's like a giant booger monster with a rose bush for a head. It's like Biollante, Chad. It's like, you ever seen Godzilla vs. Biollante, the 1989 Godzilla film? That's what this witch looks like. It looks like Biollante. And she's like, all right, girls, stand back. I'm going to take care of Dirty Gertie. Speaking of mucus, chat, let's go ahead and get into my review, my spoiler review, my scene by scene breakdown, chat, to Madoka Magica episode 2. Those magical girls, what are they up to? Well, before letting you know what those magical girls are up to, chat, I gotta let you know what happened last time, okay? So Madoka, her friend Sayaka, they have just been exposed to a world filled with magic, chat. Anime magic schoolgirls, right? All right? They went to the weird, apparently, chat, every Japanese mall has a dark, like a gothic Catholic section that we just don't know about, but they have that. They wandered in that section, chat, because good old Madoka and Sayaka, they heard a little voice crying for help me, because they were being pursued by another magical girl that we met earlier in that episode named Hamura, chat. And of course, Madoka and Sayaka, they inevitably save this little creature, this little kitty cat that's able to communicate with them. And they themselves get trapped in this weird, almost like looking dimension where it's all this clip art. Like there's these dandelion men with like giant scissors, and they're gonna cut your head off. It's like, whoa, this is crazy. But then all of a sudden, we have this other magical girl named Mami, chat. Good old Mami. And she's got blonde hair, and she knows her stuff. She knows how to throw down and finish up and kill all these dandelion guys, and she ends up saving them. Has a bit of has an impasse with Hamura. And little Kubi, the little kitty cat demon thing, is like, well, thanks for saving me, Madoka, and also Sayaka. Would you like to make a deal with me so you could become magical girls? It's like, oh, man, and that's where we last left off. And then it does kind of like a reintroduction to the character of Mami, the blonde hair girl. And she's going on about how I'm in 9th grade. I love making tea. It's like one of my hobbies. And I also like big guns. She's into guns, chat. Like, that's one of her big powers. She's able to summon guns, revolvers, rifles. She does her thing. She likes to shoot all these weird monstrosities, chat, right? And that's kind of our little introduction to her. It's like, oh, she seems like a pretty cool, badass character. I like her so far. A lot of self-confidence, right? Well, apparently, chat, it's not just a reintroduction to the character. It's a dream scenario, because suddenly Madoka wakes up much in the same way that she did in episode 1, where she dreamed like of Hamura, her fighting against that giant enormous entity at one point. So she ends up waking up. She's like, it's such a weird dream. And then Kubi's like, I've been watching you while you've been sleeping. She's like, because Kubi is tucked away among all of her like big fluffy stuffed animals, chat, but he's just been there and he's just been staring at her. She's like, oh my god, you're real. He's like, yeah, do you want to sign your soul over so you can become a magical girl? She's like, I kind of need to think about that for a little while. He's like, okay, I'll just be hanging out until then. And she's getting ready for school, chat. She's getting ready for school. And she has like this kind of like, since her mother's like the breadwinner of the family, she's very busy, very business oriented, and the dad is a stay-at-home dad. He takes care of the newborn kid, feeds him, does all the, all the maintenance and shit. And so Madoka and her mom don't get to spend so much time together, but they have like a nice, mother-daughter like morning routine. They wake each other up, they put on each other's, they get cleaned up, they put on each other's makeup, they talk about, the day before, stuff like that. So it's very sweet. It's very sweet. Then the mother asks what she's going to be doing for the rest of the day, that kind of thing. I was like, it's an interesting way to kind of handle this. And as they're getting ready, Monica's a little quieter than usual. The mom's asking, "Oh, what's wrong, honey? Why are you quiet today? Did you not sleep very well?" And she's like, "Oh, Mom, I just have like a question for you. I know it's gonna sound like really weird. It's gonna even sound stupid." She's like, "Oh, it's okay, honey. You can ask me any question. It's not stupid to me." And she's like, "Okay, well, Mom, if you had like one wish in the world, and it could be anything that you would possibly want, what would it be?" She's like, "Well, that is a stupid question, honey." She doesn't say that. She doesn't say that. She's like, "That is not a stupid question at all. No, I think that's a great question. That's a fun question. That's so fun that all you kids get to ask each other that." Oh, my God. And the mom, she just talks about how if I had one wish, what would it be? And then she just goes into this fucking tangent about corporate domination. It's like, well, if I had this one wish, I would make it so I could run this incredible company that I'm a part of right now, right? There's several higher ups that I respect, but there's certain people in the middle who are just stupid, that are holding the company back. But if they were to be eliminated, Madoka, if they were somehow eliminated, and I'm not saying killed, I'm not ruling that out. I mean, if they could be killed, the same results would happen. But if they were to be fired, for instance, and then I were to take their place, then I would do a much better job than them. I would be recognized by those higher-ups. I would be made one of those higher-ups, and then I would do away with them, and I would make the company my own. That's what I would do. I would rule this company. And she's like, "Mom," she literally says, "Mom, you're kind of scary. Your eyes are scary." And she's like, "Sorry. You know how I get when I focus on business. I'm just laser focused. So let's go eat breakfast with your dad." And it's like, oh shit. And you're probably thinking, chat, like, well, first of all, why would Madoka suddenly ask this question? Well, I have the answer for you. Because previously, before that day happened, we follow Madoka and we follow Sayaka. And they go to Mami's house. They go to her apartment, basically. And I guess this takes place sometime after the events of the first episode. It might be only like a few hours. And, they go there because, they want to learn how to be magical girls. They want to know what's involved. They're not dumb. I thought like, these two girls are they're fucking naive. They're stupid. They're going to instantly agree to be magical girls. And they're like, you know what? We want to read the fine print before we, make a decision. Either we want to be or not to be. We want to just kind of learn more about this. And, Mami and Kube are like, cool. Come with us to our apartment. And so they go to their apartment, and we learn some interesting things about Mami, the blonde-haired girl. Apparently, chat, like I said, she's in the 9th grade, and she lives alone. She lives alone in this apartment, and which is that's a red flag right there. That's weird. That's a little interesting. So we don't know what happened to her family at this point. She's what? I mean, she's in 9th grade. How old is she? Like 15? Like, how old would she be? Like 15 or something? 16 years old? Living by herself in her own apartment. I know she's a magical girl, but still, it's a little odd. And so, she serves them tea. And like, this is like the greatest tea ever. And she's like, yeah, it's my hobby. It's like I said in the intro, it's like one of my things that I'm really into. And I'm like, this is awesome. And she then begins explaining, like, because they want to know, it's like, okay, well, we don't mean to be super blunt, but like offering us like all these magical powers, like what does it involve? And she's like, okay, well, there are demons or like kitty cat demons like Kube around this world, and you can make contracts with them. And she's like, all right. And by making a contract with them, your soul is taken from your body and put into like this little, and she has like to hold this little ball, this little gem. It's like this little gem. It's very ornate, it's gilded and everything like that. Your soul is put into there, right? And it's called your soul gem, right? And this will then imbue you with magical powers. It can be so many different things. You can summon all these different weapons, melee weapons or, all sorts of different, long-range weapons, magic out the wazoo. It can be yours. And like, that's really cool. And apparently, upon doing that, making the contract, you also get one wish. And Kube's like, tell him about the wish. And he said, oh, yeah, the wish. And so once you make the contract with, like, Kube, for instance, you get one wish. And it can be, as far as I know for right now, it can be for anything. It can be for anything. And they're like, oh. And the thing is, they're like, again, this episode shows that naive, certainly, in regards to Madoka and Sayaka, but they're not stupid. I thought like, oh, these two girls, they're a bunch of dum-dums. They're gonna instantly agree. They don't. They don't agree to that because they're thinking like, wow, that is like a crazy thing. Like literally one wish that we can have, it can be for anything. They're like, okay, well, as cool as that is, so what would we have to then do after making this contract, being given these magical powers, but also getting this wish? And Mami explains, all right, well, you're going to have to start hunting witches. And they're like, oh, witches. She's like, yeah, witches. Yeah, there's like a ton of witches that reside in this world. And they are unseen by the human eye, but they are absolutely there. And they reside in these kind of like pocket dimensions and that are called labyrinths. And apparently, Madoka and Sayaka, they had accidentally ventured into one of those labyrinths while Kube was calling out for them. And Beverly saying that's where they were attacked by like the dandelion guys, the scissors and shit. It's like they had wandered into like one of those labyrinths. So it wasn't the weird gothic Catholic section of the Japanese mall. That just happened to be a witch that had somehow created a pocket dimension that they had wandered into. It's like, well, of course. And so, they have to go around and they have to try to find these witches. And once they find these witches, they would then, slay them. They're like, oh, okay. That's pretty badass and cool. And, witches are bad, right? And she's like, yeah, witches are bad. Now here's the thing, though. Here's another caveat. You could be killed by these witches. It's not like, you have unlimited powers and you have limited defense and things. It's like the witch could also be powerful. They're cunning, and they could actually kill you as well, especially if they get a hold of your fucking soul gem. At that point, you're kaput. It's fucking over. And they're like, oh shit, that's crazy. What about Hamura? Because Hamura is like, but wait a minute. If you're saying like all magical girls like go after like witches and stuff and try to protect people from these witches and they do all sorts of horrible things, what about Herman? Because she's a magical girl. Is she a witch? She's like, no. Well, she's not a witch. She's not a witch. She's a magical girl too. The thing is here, so once you kill a witch, you get like a little reward. You get like a little, something out of it. They're like, oh, and so, a lot of witches, a lot of magical girls, they're competitive. And so the last thing they want is like a ton of more magical girls to compete with, right? And so it's like, oh, more competition, less chance of getting a reward. And they're like, oh, okay, so that's why she's such a bitch. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure that's it. I'm sure that's why they wanted to kill Kube. And Kube's like, yup. That's definitely the reason why. And it's like, I don't know about this. I don't know. Well, anyway, we then cut from that, and it's the next day after, Madoka hangs out with her mom and everything. And Kube is around Madoka's shoulders, and she goes up and she meets with, she's walking to school, and she meets up with Sayaka and Hitomi. Hitomi was the green-haired girl that we met last episode. And, we learned, based on Sayaka's reaction, she's like, oh, you fucking have Kube with you. And Madoka's like, yeah. And then Hitomi's like, what's a Kube? What the hell are you talking about? She doesn't see him. And so it's like, oh, shit. So Kube is invisible to, like, most people, except for, I guess, magical girls and stuff. Or I guess maybe with potential magical girls. And they're like, nothing. She's like, you guys are acting like, and Hitomi's like, you guys are acting like really weird with each other. What were you doing after school when you were hanging out? She's like, oh, and then, Madoka and Sayaka are trying to answer, but they're, flubbing their words. And they're like, oh, we were just, we went to the mall, we were hanging out for a while, and then we were just listening to music, and we were just vibing, listening to music and stuff, and it was really nice. And then, yeah, we just, it was really nice, intimate time. She's like, intimate? Oh my God, are you two gay? And they're like, what? No, oh my God. And then Hitomi reveals herself to be a piece of shit chat. She's like, no, you two are gay. I see how it is. That is sinful. And that is unclean. I can't look at you anymore. And she like runs away. It's like, whoa. And I was like, well, fuck her, you goddamn homophobe. Like, they're not gay. I mean, maybe they are. Like, I would be shocked if eventually, like, because there's definitely like some lesbian overtones to this show, some gay overtones, but Tomi's reaction was like way out of line. It's like, you got some fucking issues, girl, with gay people. And they're like, that was pretty goddamn awkward. But again, they're not gay. Well, yet. I think they might. Are you two lesbians? Are you and lesbians with each other? And maybe they will be, chat. I get the sense that Madoka does appreciate the female form. There's just certain things that like she's like lovingly looking at Mami in some scenes. Same with Hamura. She's kind of like, whoa, like wow, you're kind of amazing. So I would not be shocked. Plus the intro, the anime like musical intro, literally has two girls pressing boobs together. Just boob touches, chat. And so I was like, yeah, there's probably some lesbian overtones. Probably maybe some lesbian relationships later on. But still, Hitomi's reaction, way out of line. Way goddamn out of line. And but they eventually go to class and they're trying to, not, be awkward and things. And even though they've been introduced to a world filled with magical girls and witches and demon cats and shit. But then they see Hamura, who doesn't pay attention to them, right? And she sits down and it's like a little awkward. It's like, oh shit, she's with us right here, even though she almost like tried to attack us. Kube then starts talking. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to keep an eye on her. And they're like, whoa, because Kube can now telepathically communicate with them, I guess, in a certain range, within a certain vicinity. It can't be, like, over miles or something. Because Mami also goes to the same school, and she's able to communicate with them, except she's in a different room. And, they say, like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, take all the time you need. Will, to think about becoming like a magical girl and hunt witches and stuff, you don't want to rush you, of course. Like, it's actually good. Actually, we're impressed. Kube and I are impressed that you guys are actually considering. Most would just go, let's fucking go. Give me my wish. Give me my magical powers. Let's hunt some witches. But you guys are actually being smart about this, and I respect that. I respect your cautiousness. And I was like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. And so then eventually, Madoka and Sayaka, they go outside, and they're just kind of having on like a nice little break, and they're kind of discussing just everything that's happened, and and they haven't had some time to just be alone with each other, and to kind of talk all this out, and they're kind of just amazed by all this. And how Madoka is just like, yeah, it's just a lot. It's like making these, like, just all thinking of all these ideas of what I could possibly wish for. What about you, Sayaka? What would you wish for? And Sayaka, who's kind of been portrayed as being this very brash, very blunt-speaking person, she becomes, like, suddenly very introspective, which I didn't mind, where she's just like, I feel like we're in an interesting position, Madoka. And she's like, what do you mean, Sayaka? And she, like, gets up and she, like, goes to the, like, they're on this, on top of this roof. But then there's, like, this gate. There's, like, this chain link fence on it. Probably stop people from, like, jumping off and stuff. But then she's, like, looking out and she's saying, I think the reason why we're struggling to think of, like, what would we would wish for is because, we are very lucky. I mean, we go to a very prestigious school. We both come from money, we're pretty well off. I think a lot of people would probably jump at this because they don't have as much and that they would seek it out. And so it's just weird that we've been given this, even though we already have so much in our lives. I think that's why we're being careful and considering, taking this opportunity. It's just like, Jesus. I was like, I kind of liked how thoughtful she was there. And, Madoka's like, wow, you really thought this through. She's like, yeah, it's something I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, oh, shit. But then, Chad, they hear someone walking up to the rooftop, and who shows up? Fucking Hamura, and they're like, oh, shit, Hamura's here? And Sayaka is like, are you here to throw down with us, bitch? Are you here to fight us, okay? You can't deny us becoming magic girls. It's our decision to make, right? And then they're telepathically in communication with, very creepy though, because apparently Mami's been watching them the entire time, as they've been speaking and considering like what they should do. She's like in this fucking cathedral. She's in this tower, like right next to them, just overlooking them, like, yes, think you shall be mine. And she's like, don't worry, girls, I've been here the whole time, and I'll make sure Hamura doesn't hurt you. And they're like, oh, Jesus, we didn't know you were there, Mami. She's like, yeah, I like to watch. It's what I do. And Hamura comes up there. She's like, I'm not here to fight, okay? I just wanted to talk to you guys briefly. I want to admit some things. Like, first of all, she looks at Kubi. Always has like this same just look, this dead-eyed like smile on his face, just like, yeah. Do you guys want to be magical girls? Like, that's all it does. It's like, it's really, really weird. And Herman like stares at him. He looks so resentful. She looks very resentful towards Kube. And she's like, okay, so I'll be straight with you. Yes, I was trying to kill him. I was trying to do that. I wanted to prevent him from turning you into magical girls. I sensed magical energy in both of you. and I wanted to stop that. I know we got off on the wrong foot, but you know what? If you just stay out of my way, I'll stay out of your way, okay? And do you remember when I told you, Madoka, how you should just, appreciate the life that you have and all that you have from your family to your comfort and your wealth? She's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, keep thinking about that before you make your decision. And then she turns and she walks away, and Madoka, she walks up to her, is about to say, like, Hamura, before you go, can I just ask one question? She stops and she like turns her head a little bit. She's like, what did you wish for? And then she pauses, big pregnant pause. She had like a 9-month prego pause. And she doesn't say, but she just looks at her and she turns away and she walks back down the stairs. I'm like, that's sus. I'm like, this whole situation is very sus and makes me very nervous. I was like, that's probably not a good thing. But she doesn't say what her wish was, chat. Eventually, it's towards the end of school or whatever, and Mami is just like, I totally understand if you two girls just haven't, figured out what you want to do yet. So I think it would be kind of cool if I were to show you what I do. Hunting witches, that is. You don't have to, participate. Just do what I say. Stay in the back, and I'll show you how it's done. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And Sayaka, she like pulls out a fucking bat. She's like, yeah, if any of those weird dandelion guys attack me, I got this bat. She's like, haha, yeah, that'll stop him, I'm sure. And then Monica's like, yeah, I've also been thinking about if I accept being a magical girl, it's like, this will be like my cool outfit. And she does these like little doodles and shit. And, they're like, oh, that's so cute, Monica. She's like, stop it, guys. You're embarrassing me. And I'm like, they're cute little drawings and shit. And they're like, all right, well, cool. So let's go ahead and hunt down a witch. There's one I've been tracking I'm tracking a particular witch for quite a while. Gertrude, good old Dirty Gertie, Chad. They're going after Dirty Gertie the witch. And, they start off. Apparently they enter, like, after they leave school, the entire skyline suddenly becomes red. It looks like they just walked into Gotham City, like from the animated series. It looks fucking awesome. Like the backgrounds in the show, they have some pretty cool backgrounds. This is one of my favorites when they're walking like across the city, and like it's kind of like not too crowded. And you just see this like beautiful like red skylines. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like that quite a bit. But, the girls are asking Mami, like, so how do you hunt down witches? And so she's like, oh, yeah. So in order to hunt down witches, you should check in, like, several places. Usually witches reside in buildings where accidents have happened, where fights have taken place, or there have been frequent suicides. I'm like, oh, there it is. there's the darkness creeping into this show. And they're like, oh shit, well, hopefully no one tries to do that today. And then we immediately cut to a woman. We immediately cut to this young woman who's climbing up this abandoned building and who's literally perched on the edge of the building, just like, well, here we go. I'm going to do a fucking swan dive off of this 10-story building and go squish at the bottom. I was like, oh, damn. And so they eventually, they go to a nearby abandoned building, and that is the building where the woman's there. And they're like, oh, my God, there's the woman up there. She's going to kill herself. And Mommy's like, don't worry, girls. I got it. Stand back. And she does her Sailor Moon transformation, chat. A lot of emphasis on the booba. Big boobage emphasis, chat. And so she transforms into her Sailor Moon outfit, and she's like, she runs up there. Well, she doesn't run up there. She runs underneath, because the girl's like, already, like, fuck it. She jumps off, and Mami, she summons, like, she has, like interesting powers. She mostly uses guns. She's like, I'm not going to shoot her. I'm going to shoot her before she lands. But she uses, like, these cool, like, magical ribbons. And she takes this ribbon out of her hair, and this ribbon kind of becomes different ribbons, and it circles around the girl, and it creates like a cyclone. It slows her descent. It slows her descent until eventually Mami is able to catch her. She catches her, and she's holding her, and I'm like, oh my God. And like Sayaka and Madoka are, obviously incredibly upset and distraught and concerned over what just happened. You almost watched a suicide. And so, Mami starts checking over her and stuff, and she notices that there's like this mark. It's this like red like mark on her neck. And she's like, ah! And they're like, oh, what is that? This is a witch's kiss. It's a witch's kiss. And usually when that happens, when the witch like does that, and like they kiss you, they curse you, that'll compel the person to do violent things, either to others or themselves. And like, oh man. And I guess the other thing is like most people cannot see witches. They just can't see them at all. And so like, except people imbued with magic. And they're like, oh damn. And so they check her over again. And like, should we call someone? She's like, not until we finish this first. She'll be safe for now right here. So we're going to leave her here. She's out of danger for the moment. The witch will be more concerned of us than her. And so they go inside, and she's like, all right, before we do anything, can you give me the bat? And so she takes the bat from Sayaka, and she transforms it into this cool fucking badass, like, gilded mace. It's just like, whoa, this is fucking awesome. She's like, yeah, I know. And Monica, she didn't bring anything, but they gave Sayaka the cool mace, and then she's kind of like looking around. She starts like throwing like some mace. She's like, I'm gonna feel out for the portal. And like, portal, yeah, they usually hide in like pocket dimensions within these like their labyrinths reside in these pocket dimensions inside these like abandoned buildings. And so she throws out some magic and boop, portal, and it's like, there it is, portal. And she's like, okay, listen, before we enter the portal, stay behind me. Do everything that I say, and you won't be in danger, okay? They'll be more focused on me than anything else, all right? Since I'll be the most powerful thing in there. And they're like, okay, cool. And so then they open the portal, and it's all, like, weird, like witchcraft symbols and symbology and shit, occult symbology, and they jump inside the portal, right? And much like the last time, like at the weird Catholic church from hell, it's just filled to the brim with just weird backgrounds and shapes. It's a geometric hellscape. And you just have these weird abomination clip art creatures. Like we have a lot of dandelion men. A lot of dandelion men are like, and they have like scissors, and they want to like, just like trying to cut each other. And it's like, this is fucked up and weird. And so, Mommy's just like, all right, girls, just stand behind me. And then she just starts pulling out these fucking guns from nowhere. She's like, where's she pulling out these guns? Don't worry, you'll find out in a bit. But she starts pulling out like these pistols, and like some of them are like one-shot pistols though, so maybe that's like her thing. But she pulls out like these old antique like pistols, just boom, boom, and they're super powerful. She throws them away, pulls out a fucking rifle. Like, is able to, like, one-arm it, like, it was like, whoa, you're really badass, Mommy. She's like, yeah, I know. And so eventually they continue on. It's a huge labyrinth, though. So they're turning every corner. And, that's the thing, because how they're able to find a witch is via the soul gem. So it can point towards, I guess, like, large sources of magic. That's what it is. And so you got to put your soul in there to use it, though. And so it's pointing her in the direction of where, it's like a compass. So it's pointing her where she needs to go, right? And so they eventually get to where the witch is residing. They open this one huge door, and it's this huge, like, atrium. And what they see in the middle of the atrium is, I would call it good old Dirty Gertie, Chad. Good old Dirty Gertie, the witch queen. I would describe her as, it's not like your typical witch. It's like, oh, so, fucking old hag, clothed in black, witch's hat, stirring a cauldron. No, it's like a giant booger monster with a rose bush for a head. It's like Biollante, Chad. It's like, you ever seen Godzilla vs. Biollante? The 1989 Godzilla film. That's what this witch looks like. It looks like Biollante. And she's like, all right, girls, stand back. I'm going to take care of Dirty Gertie. And so she jumps down there, lands in the atrium, right? Dirty Gertie's like, ah! When she sees that, she's like, get the fuck out of here. And then Mommy's like, it's like, what is she doing? And then she literally pulls out this, she's like, Mommy pulls out this giant gun out of her ass. She shits out a gun. Her like, that's where she's been keeping the guns. She's been keeping them in her prison pocket, chat. And she pulls out this gun. She's like, and then she fires it. And then Dirty Gertie's like trying to avoid all the gunfire and shit. But then also got the dandelion guys too. Dandelion's like, no, protect our queen. And so they go to attack her. And so, Mommy, she's got to pull out some more ass guns. And she starts just shooting them all and shit. She's killing them all too. But then, Dirty Gertie, she gets the upper hand because at one point, as Mommy's like shooting at them, she's trying to shoot also at Dirty Gertie. But Dirty Gertie, she has like this weird like tentacle like rose whip shit. It's like, hey, that's Hiei's. And she grabs on to Mommy, and she just starts flailing her fucking around, like smashing her into the ground and shit. She throws her into the side of the building, and I was like, whoa, holy shit! And Sayaka and Madoka, they're like, oh my god, are you okay, Mommy? She's like, I got it. It was all part of the plan. And they're like, what? And then suddenly we cut, and all around Dirty Gertie, the witch, and like her little dandelion boys, like our queen. Like where all bullets were, they were like seed. They're like seeded bullets, and suddenly like this golden, like her hair. And I guess also her ribbons as well, but. They start growing, and like we see these strands start to like eviscerate the little dandelion boys, but they also start to like wrap around Dirty Gertie, the Biolante kaiju monster, and holds Dirty Gertie in place. She's like, ah! She can't do anything. And then at that point, Mami, she fucking flips off the wall. She's like, ah! And she takes the biggest dump imaginable, and she pulls out like a fucking just giant like cannon gun. It's like a handgun. It's like a revolver, but it's just enormous. It's like a bazooka. And she's like, just where I wanted you. Ba-boom! And it just shoots it. And Dirty Gertie's like, ah! And she explodes. And she explodes. And after she explodes, then the illusion, the labyrinth starts to like fall apart and dissipate, and then it just becomes like a normal hallway, a part of the abandoned building. And Sayaka and Madoka are like, holy fucking shit, like what was that? She's like, Dirty Gertie, she's dead. And they're like, oh, that's good, I guess. And she's like, yeah, this is what's often, sometimes is what's left. And she picks up like this, looks like a black pointy ornament. It's like a little like needle on the bottom. It looks like, don't get stabbed by it. Look like it get right into your hand. And like looks like it's filled with some black liquid or something. And so she says, this is a grief seed. It's a witch's grief seed. And you see my little soul gem. You're like, yeah, it's a little. Do you see it's a little darker? And they're like, yeah, it's because my magic's been depleted during that fight, or to a degree. And so we can take the grief seed, the magic from that, and we can restore some of my magic. And they're like, oh, and so she takes some of the grief seed's power and she puts it into her thing. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And she's like, oh, and hey, if you want it, here, go ahead and take it. And she throws it suddenly, like the grief seed in the darkness, and Madoka and, Sayaka, what the fuck? And then this hand comes out of the shadow and grabs it. And who walks out, Chad? It's Hamura. And they're like, and Sayaka's like, oh, what are you doing here? And she was just like, I was just, watching you guys. I want to make sure you guys are going to do okay. And Mami is just like, you can help yourself to it if you want. And she's like, I don't want handouts. I don't need it. And she throws it right back. Mami just catches it, like of not even a change of expression. And she's like, be careful out there. And she leaves and she walks away. And Sayaka's like, oh, I don't know what it is about that girl, but I just don't like her. I just don't like her at all. And, Madoka's just like, she just seems so cool. It just looks like she needs a friend. I wish she could just be her friend. If she's a magic girl like you, Mami, I feel like we could all work together. And, Mami's just like, well, that's up to her. Friendship, it's not an easy thing to achieve, honestly. And the only way she can be our friend if she wants to be our friend. But, my doors are always open, always happy to accept her friendship. But what about it, girl? Sayaka, Madoka, what'd you think? Wasn't that cool fighting that witch? You're like, yeah, homie, that was awesome. That was super cool. She's like, yeah, it was super cool. So, are you ready to make a decision yet? And they're like, but we don't know if they're going to make that decision, chat, because the episode ends. It's like, ooh, are they going to become magical girls? I don't know. But that is my review. That is my spoiler review. That is my scene by scene breakdown, chat, to Madoka Magica episode 2. Butt guns. That's what I'm going to call this episode, chat. It has a subtitle, but I'm going to call it Booty Butt Guns. Because that's straight up, like she's literally pulling them out from under her dress, which is amazing.